That graphic right there has them wildly, comically, laughably overrated. And if we can show that again, I would put, as far as a chance to win the East, I would put the Nets behind every single one of those teams listed. They can be ahead of the Raptors and the Cavs and the Bulls who are falling apart, that's fine. But of those teams, I would have them fifth. Now, let me be clear about this, and then I think I might be able to at least sway Kevin Wildes. I don't know if I can sway Chris Broussard.
Okay.
That if the question were, who in the East has the best chance to win a best of three against the Suns, who have been the best team in basketball, I would probably give the Nets the second best chance there, behind only Milwaukee, because I think their ceiling is higher than everybody in the East except Milwaukee. But in order to win the East, it's not about what your ceiling is. It's about what your consistent level of production is over 6 weeks of playoff basketball. And I have no reason to believe the Nets are capable of doing anything close to winning the conference. So, Wildes, of those 5 teams, Nets, Bucks, Sixers, Heat, and Celtics, just quick question for you, or a few of them. The worst defense of the 5, sure. The Nets have it, right? Do we all agree? The worst defense of those 5 teams, the Nets, correct? Okay.
Well, until Ben comes back, Ben is feeling a lot less pain for the record.
Yeah,
feeling less pain.
Okay, good to know. Assuming Ben's not coming back.
Put
the worst coach of the 5 is the Nets coach, right? It's Steve Nash. Like, even with the Doc Rivers questions, he's better than Steve Nash. Ime Udoka is, to me, I mean, he's unproven, but he's done well. Okay, what about if we want to get into a little more? The worst depth of the 5? In the most recent Nets game, they played Andre Drummond, Goran Dragic, and Patty Mills 78 minutes. So I don't think they have a ton of depth. I would say they have the worst depth of the 5. And hey, added bonus, the worst home court advantage of the 5. If such a thing matters, I'm going to go ahead and say it's Barclays. Even worse than Miami. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Boston and Philly and Milwaukee have a slightly better home court advantage than the tepid applause for opposing players you hear at Barclays. Okay, that's just objective, y'all. The worst defense, the worst coach, the worst depth, and as an added bonus, no home court advantage. So I respect and am in awe of Kevin Durant's talent, and I am a big who's the best player on the court guy. That's not enough to overcome 3 straight series, where you're at a disadvantage in every other category. So no, I think they are vastly, drastically overrated.
Totally get it. I'll ask you a question. You ever gone scuba diving or snorkeling, Nick? Just a yes or no question. If you want to give me a little anecdote about you on the boat, I'll take it. Yeah. You have, right? And so have I. And you know what you say? You're with usually a group of people, and everyone's like, what about sharks? And everyone's like, yeah, I would worry about sharks too. I didn't want to ask it. And the scuba diving instructor or the snorkeling instructor says, you know what? When you look at the facts, the ocean is a dangerous place. For sharks are scarier, are more scared of us. And you're like, yeah, I understand that, but I don't want to see them. I know all the facts. I don't want to see a shark regardless. And that's the way every team feels about the Brooklyn Nets. To the point, Broussard, I have made a ranking of teams that you don't want to see in the playoffs. And guess who number 1 is? The Brooklyn Nets. No one wants to come out for warm-ups and see Kevin Durant do his little twist and make a jumper, and Kyrie does his drill. Like, I don't want to play those guys. Also don't want to play defending champions. Also don't want to play the Celtics, who are now 31-10 since New Year's. Don't want to play the Heat. Jimmy made some threes yesterday. Went out to Sacramento just what the doctor ordered, broke their losing streak. And I don't want to play Trae Young. And I'm like, what about the Sixers, Wildes? I'm not afraid of the Sixers. If I'm in the playoffs, I am not afraid of playoff James Harden. I am afraid of playoff Trae, who averaged 29 and 10 in the playoffs. So that's my list of teams I don't want to play. Brooklyn Nets being the sharks of the group. Terrified of them, no matter how the statistics say I'm not supposed to be.
All right, Wildes is clearly not underrating the Nets like Nick is. All right, I'll give you this, Nick. They shouldn't. Fox Bet having them ranked as favorites out of the East. I'll give you that. That's an overrating. All right, for a team that hadn't really been together all year. But you are woefully underrating them. And I would take them, put them second. Now, Boston, you can poo-poo the loss of Robert Williams III, the center, and we'll see. He might be back for the playoffs. But that's a big loss for the Celtics. All right, he has been a key. They got a lot of great defenders, but he is certainly one of them. Arguably their most valuable defender. He protects the rim. He can get out and guard on the perimeter as a center. Like, he's legit. So that hurts them a bit. But, Nick, let's go down your list of a few things. First, you're saying, can they put together 6 straight weeks of good basketball? What has kept them from doing that, not only this season, but in the past? Let's see. Well, I'll stay with
coaching,
this season.
their culture,
Kevin
their depth,
Durant
their defense.
No. How about this? Kevin
the above.
Durant was injured. You didn't mention Kevin Durant's injury. You didn't mention James Harden quitting on the team. You didn't mention Kyrie Irving being a part-time player. Those are the reasons. You can't be consistent when you got players in and out of your best players in and out of the lineup. Now, if Kyrie is there every game now, it's a whole different situation. So throw out all of that. They haven't been able to put together 4 straight good games before. Yeah, because Kyrie was sitting at home being unvaccinated, or Kevin Durant was injured, or James Harden was pouting and trying to get his way out of town. So you can't give me can they put together 6 straight weeks?
2 or 3.
We have to wait and see. All right, secondly,
Kyrie's been back.
you ripped the coach Steve
Nash.
One game to Memphis. First of all, Memphis is a freaking juggernaut. All right, 18-2. There's no shame in losing to them without Ja Morant. All right. Okay. Secondly, they lost one game to Charlotte. You didn't mention that they mollywopped Miami. All right, so give them credit for that.
Right.
Secondly, you ripped Steve Nash, and I'm not saying he's Red Auerbach, but I'm old enough to remember, to use a Nick Wright phrase, that you once thought Mike Budenholzer couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag. You once thought Jason Kidd couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag. So pardon me if I don't put all my trust in the Nick says Nash can't coach bonanza. Okay?
That's fair.
So, Nick,
they
are more dangerous than Philadelphia. You know that, because you can't trust James Harden in the playoffs, and we don't know what Joel Embiid's going to do in the big moments. And you brought up the questions about Doc Rivers. Miami, just not as talented. Just simple as that. I mean, there's a ceiling to how good the Miami Heat can be. They play hard.
Making
they're tough.
the finals.
They're well coached. They're hard nosed. But talent, how'd that work out? That was bizarre.
I mean, it happened.
That was a strange bubble situation.
They lost the greatest player ever.
All right, so they have a great chance. Brooklyn is a bit overrated by Fox Bet, but don't believe the hype, America. They have a shot in the Eastern Conference, even if Nick Wright doesn't want to admit it.
Okay, so you mentioned guys in and out of the lineup.
A good shot.
Is Brooklyn dealing with the most injuries of star players of any team we've ever seen? No. Right? Yet you are asking them to go on an unprecedented playoff run. Guys, in the NBA, if you're not a top 3 seed, you barely ever make the finals. And if you're not a top 5 seed, you never make the finals unless you're Hakeem's Rockets. Hakeem's Rockets did it. I think the Rockets in 81 did it as well.
Or
and the
Jeff
Knicks
Van
in the
Gundy's
lockout
Knicks.
season did it. The Knicks in the lockout season. Yeah, in 99. Okay, all right. So we have 3 instances in the last 50 years of teams making the NBA Finals outside of the top 5 seeds. So let's break them down real quick. 81 Rockets, I give them all the credit in the world. They're a forgotten team. That's fine. They end up getting washed by the Celtics. The 95 Rockets are an odd one because they were the defending champions and they added Clyde Drexler at the deadline, so they were better than a 6 seed. And the 99 Knicks, that was the weirdest year ever because of the lockout year. So again, if you want to stake your claim on the Nets are going to duplicate that history, that's fine. But did they? Hold on. The idea that they didn't add a guy who had never been on the team. They added the guy who was partially on the team, who was there last year, and that's fine. If you think that the Nets have the same championship medal as the literal defending champion Rockets did in 1994-95 and to 95-96, that's fine. I'm going to say the Nets, didn't go as far in the playoffs last year as the Hawks, so I don't think they have that championship medal.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.